Welcome to the Doom Kitchen. This is not a news show. It's a talk show. We do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. We are not responsible for the actions of our listeners. You are responsible for you. If anything offends you, we were only joking. Promise.
Welcome to the Doom Kitchen, and as most people know, the other show that I do is called Burn Babylon Burn. And where did I get that name? I got it from this man right here. Welcome to the show, DISL Automatic, Big Drub, Vanilla Gorilla. Get big on them.
Yeah, that's what's up, brother. I appreciate that, man. That's one of the better intros I've gotten. I like that a lot, man. I'm honored to be here. It's great. It's great to be on, and thank you
I'm
for
so
having
happy
me
you're here.
and for all the support. And oh yeah, we chatted a little bit before this. I didn't even say formally, it's nice to meet you as well. Finally, it's weird how these relationships get built. It goes from like it's all virtual reality online, like on social media. First, somebody showing love or messaging me, and then it comes to the video medium of meeting, and then with quite a few people, it's ultimately ended up in meeting in person, which would be great if we could do as well one day. But for now, this is great. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining me. Over the last couple of years, everything that I loved before betrayed me. So, it's between you and a couple other people. I know you're friends with Blood of the Brave, and he's another person that's constantly in my playlist just because the whole world went crazy. And I need people that are telling the truth right now. And that's what you guys do. And the medium, hip hop, rap as a medium for telling truth is perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I mean, I could certainly dive into that if you'd like. I could expound.
Yeah, go for it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's all about communication, right? So we communicate not just verbally, we communicate in many different ways, but ultimately it's all an energy transference, right? That's all communication is. I mean, words are just an expression of thoughts. Thoughts are just what? Some type form of energy that we have in our minds. I mean, it's measurable even. So it's all just conveying pretty much energy in some shape or form. And the power of music lies in the fact that it's twofold. When we speak, we're sharing this energy sonically, but it's only verbal. There's just the aspect of, sure, the words themselves have vibrations, but that's not that impactful. Like, we often hear this discussion about the power of words and casting spells. And yes, there certainly is power to words and the repetition of, but the words themselves inherently aren't that of a strong a vibration that just the vibration of words alone are going to impact us that deeply, you know, as opposed to the sound of music, which is the next point I'm getting to. Like, for example, no one's ever gotten, I mean, maybe they have, but rarely does it occur that someone is going to get goosebumps just from the tone of a person's voice, or the melody. We don't talk like that. Talking is more, the power of talking is more the message that's being conveyed, that form of energy that's being transferred. So there's great power with it, maybe the greatest power within that in and of itself. But then the actual music, the frequency of the music is a whole nother transference of energy, a whole nother transference of vibration, of thoughts, of feelings, communicating something to us, right? So you have these very powerful forces, two of the greatest powerful forces in a known universe, ways of conveying a message, our thoughts, our energy. And so then you have, obviously, when the words to the music are um, what we would perceive as negative, right? When you're listening to rap, for example, and it's all killing and, doing drugs and just all that type of vibe and message and that energy being transferred, coupled with the vibration, which, there's a big, I don't know how familiar people are with music, but there's the, I guess it's like a conspiracy theory that the frequency, the hertz of which music in mainstream Hollywood, mainstream music media, the way that it's been changed from the hertz previously, I think were 432 hertz, if I'm not mistaken, to match the frequency of the earth, actually. um don't quote me on the exact number, but that it's the same as whatever the frequency of the earth is, I know that. And so I don't know how much truth there is to that, of course, but it's plausible. It's plausible that was done intentionally, because the actual vibration of just the harmonies and melodies and the rhythms and all of that affects us. All of it impacts us. That's why you don't even need words. You could just listen to an instrumental, a beat, or take it way back, Beethoven. These cats who just made music, and how it could totally, like, there's studies that implicate the ability for a person to grow more intelligent, for their IQ to increase by listening to, in particular, classical music. So it's so powerful. And then the icing on this cake of, this powerful, extremely, one of the most powerful tools or weapons, which is now, it's been weaponized, but this tool, which is music, the icing on the cake is repetition, repetition, repetition. People people listen to music obsessively, repetitively. I do. I know most people do. And that is the most powerful thing, because now we're not just talking. I'm not saying I could listen. I still do. I'll still, when I'm in the gym sometimes, shit, I put on 50 Cent. What up, cuz? What up, blood? What? It gets me pumped in the gym. But I listen to it once in a, even if I'm listening to it once a day, it's not that big of a deal to me. Also, because I'm aware I have so much other conscious consumption that occurs, right? But when people are, that's all they're listening to all day, every day. So there's just the conscious level of brainwashing that will do to you, with all those things coupled: the power of the word, the power of the music, the message, the repetition. I mean, consciously, it has to affect you in some way, shape, or form. It's going to. But then on a deeper subconscious level, I mean, it's literally, people are just casting spells on themselves willingly, knowingly, and it's deep subconscious shit, right? So, and then a lot of it manifests consciously, especially like for cats like me who grew up, was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, was a teen, really in hip hop, really in the streets, all of these things, right? Already living that life, and then hearing the rappers glorify and glamorize, and I know it consciously, you know, and I know for a fact I'm not some anomaly. This was like everybody that was really in that life back then. You're listening to Jay-Z and these cats, and you're thinking, yeah, yup, I'm finna get that too. That's finna be me, just like that. Hustling, rapping, yup. I'm gonna do what, oh yeah, these cats is, yup, yup. I'm on that too. I'm not going out and doing it because they're saying it. I wasn't just, some random kid. But if you're already in that, and then you hear these cats glorifying and you can relate in a certain sense, Oh, it impacted us massively. It definitely, like, it certainly influenced us. It didn't. That's what I always say. People are like, "Oh, rap doesn't cause." Of course not, but it certainly contributes. It certainly fucking contributes. And only people who will say no are people who ain't really ever been in that life. So to them, it's just it's like watching a movie when they listen to these raps. They're not feeling it that kind of way. It's just wow, cool, and exciting to them. But then, so it's either them or cats who are just lying, who are just lying. Like I don't, or maybe there's the rare person who don't like rap for some reason. They just in that life, but they not really listening to music. Or, but I know I was in it, and I knew everybody around my way, and everybody was gassed up off of rap music in particular in the like really the late 90s early 2000s, really when the hardcore street shit really started to take over, where it was like even to be a rapper you had to be on some type of level of street shit. Like you had to have some type of stripes to even come out and be like, yeah, I rap. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, point of all that is, that's why I was like, I could elaborate, I could get into it because it's a bit drawn out, but it's important. I mean, it's one of the most important things because the music has been weaponized, and that's a long and deep conspiracy story as well that we could get into if you like. But regardless, it's been weaponized, and the powers that be, the elitist, not the elite. People often be like, don't, oh, we shouldn't call them elite. I don't say they're elite. Elitist, that means that's like a racist. That means like it's a ism. Like you're like a snob. An elitist is, oh, you think you're elite. Doesn't mean you're elite. So anyway, so they know what's up. They know how powerful music is. They know the magic that is in it. And it is literally, it has been one of the biggest weapons used against people, especially in the past, you know, I don't know, maybe half century. You know what I'm saying? Really more like the past 40 years, I'd say. Since like the 80s is really, I think, with MTV and all of these things coming about, and rock and then rap and NWA. So anyway, it's just such a powerful thing. It's neutral. It can be used for good or bad. Obviously, I'm using it for good, as well as a lot of other people. You mentioned Blood of the Brave. Big up my brother. Actually working on a new track right now with that man. So yeah. Anyway, there you go, bro. That's that's my stuff. Hey, people always tell me that I'm a great guest because you don't even have to say much. If you just, you just let me go, I'll just go off.
That's perfect. That'll make my job really easy. It's very early in the morning where I'm at, so.
Yeah.
But you were mentioning the hertz and the frequencies and stuff, and that reminded me of the Emoto study where he would flash freeze
Yep.
water, and you say something positive, and it would flash freeze as something beautiful crystals.
Yeah.
You say something negative, and it would be nasty. And we're being bombarded all the time by negative
Yeah.
messaging, whether here or there. And I think that one of the reasons that what happened over the last couple of years happened the way it did was because they got a hold of all these greedy artists, like they say it in their songs. They're only about the money. They say that,
Yeah.
and they were easily bribed, easily taken over. And that's why I can't listen to stuff I used to. And I mean, I was never a rap guy until I found you guys, really.
Yeah. That's awesome. I have a ton of supporters, fans, whatever you want to call it, that aren't necessarily rap fans. It's not like, in fact, I would say the majority of my fans aren't like myself, for example, like a real hip hop head, like old school with it, you know everything about it, like, and you know, most of them, it's for the message, and to me, that's even more powerful. I love my hip hop heads, and I love the cats who can, appreciate it from that aspect. But the dopest to me is when somebody like yourself or like a 70-year-old grandma is like, I don't listen to rap, but I love DISL Automatic. Like that's so dope because the message really transcends everything.
Well,
All genres and people, walks of life, ethnicity, race. It don't matter. Don't matter.
you're extremely positive. You're always preaching peace and unity and personal responsibility. It's all the important stuff, the things that people need to hear. And then you're also telling people what's going on out there. And really, how do you know? How did you know right off the bat? Because a lot of people missed it. I know how I knew, but there's a ton of people that just wanted to trust the science and whatever else.
Yeah. Well, um, I didn't. It's not that I just knew. Like I knew it was gonna happen well ahead of time. I didn't know the details. I didn't know the specifics of it. I didn't. I didn't know it was gonna be everything that it was necessarily, but the general idea. I even rapped it. I rapped it in lyrics many years ago. You know, they create the threat and then they spread the epidemic. Next, here come the medics with their so-called leaders saying that they got a cure and that they know how they should treat us. Right. So those are lyrics that I wrote like over a decade ago. Um, and it's not, I'm certainly not psychic. you know, I don't say that I ain't some type of a prophet. Um, it's just history repeats itself. And these aren't, all the draconian measures and totalitarian, authoritarian, tyrannical, it's all been done before, for the most part. Now maybe there's a little spin because it's more technology and different, there's digital, you know what I'm saying? But it's ultimately it's ultimately always about control, right? So, and when you just know from history that the government is willing and capable, and the powers that be are willing and capable of doing anything at any time to any and everyone to maintain control and the order um, that they have and the stronghold that they have over the world, then then you're a fool and you're the conspiracy theorist who believes in the theory that the government is conspiring in your good. Um, because just take it on the micro, right? That's the macro. Take it to the micro. As a human being, if somebody in your life has shown to you time and time again that they are abusive, manipulative, they mistreat you, so on and so forth, you ain't gonna stick around. You ain't gonna stick around. Sure, there's extenuating circumstances, and people have kids, and oh, it's hard to leave, and you always hear about the people in those situations that get trapped and stuck. So it ain't easy. But for the most part, even if people stick around, they know they shouldn't. They know that it's like, man, this is the wrong fucking person for me, right? So it's the same, you know, government, it's been nothing. It's been nothing but oppressive and tyrannical in the end. Sooner or later, and all types of measures have been used time and time again. Every system has failed time and time again. So if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat, And for me, it's like guilty until proven innocent, always with the government, and they're really never innocent. They're never innocent. They're always guilty of something. But anything that may happen, like when all this shit popped off, like sure, when it first kicked off and nobody really knew what was going on, and yeah, I of course, at first I'm like, okay, something's probably up, but also I'm like, well, there are real things in this world too. You know, it's not all. That's the thing with a lot of people within what we do. And nothing now anymore can be due to chance or coincidence, or because it can be as well. Like, but most of the time, my first inclination is to say something's up here. Something's up here. So before I, make a judgment either way, let me wait and see. Let me see what's happening, how things unfold, right? And with everything that happened 2020, it didn't take long, right? Like it was at first that like, wait, is this really like something? Because even if here's the thing, like even if the government is responsible for it, at that point I wasn't scared, but I'm like, well, maybe it is a real deadly fucking virus that they leaked and on purpose, right? For population control. Here we go, wipe us out. Let's see, right? So I certainly wasn't just straight out the gate like, oh fuck this, this virus isn't gonna kill anybody. Like, because some people were, and I'm like, that's a bit extreme too, fam. Like, I'm not certain about what is actually going on out there and what's happening. I know some people that I knew personally had symptoms that they never had in their life before. Nobody died. No, it wasn't nothing like that with anybody that I knew, but something was going on. So I'm like, let's wait and see. But nonetheless, I certainly, as soon as it became evident that this thing wasn't, because at first, I'm sure like many people, I thought people were just gonna be dropping dead. I thought like, okay, let's see, like what's gonna fucking, is it gonna be zombies? Is it on and popping? Like we going zombie hunting? What's up, right? But so that's pretty much when it became, which was fast, because within the first few weeks or month or however long it was, just it got to a point quickly where it's like, okay, this can't be this super deadly virus like y'all are making it out to be, even if it exists, even if it's out there. And with that being said, everything else that deems everything else null and void in terms of all the measures that they were taking to protect us, right? To make us protect ourselves from nothing,
Yeah,
from a threat, even if, of course, I want to say this, even if it was a super deadly, you know, a zombie virus, still can't tell me what to do. Fuck you, government. You still can't tell me what to do. I should, even if I want to still go out and get that virus and get sick and die, you still can't tell me what to do. You still can't tell me I don't give a, and it's just a basic principle. I don't care what it is. It could be the cure for every sickness in the world. You'll live forever. You'll have ultimate health. I don't care. If I don't want it, I don't want it. That's it. It's that simple. And nobody has the right to tell me otherwise. So
100%. It was crazy on this one. One of the things that was a tell for me was how it was every city, every state, every country was all doing the same thing, and you could tell that
yeah.
there was a certain level of this was set up in order. One thing knocked another domino down. That's just how every step of this thing worked. Was it's like, and then you got the propaganda machine, and when you see the propaganda going in full, and you know that there's something going on. And I was in Houston at the rodeo, and I'm like, a plant catches on fire every other week here. Why are these people freaking out over a cold?
Yeah.
And that was the beginning.
Yeah, man.
But
I mean, I think that's, again, as someone who and I'm happy, I'm happy that it happened, because there's people like you and many others who was really like, that spark that prompted them to basically changed the way they think and the way they view the system politically and socially and so on and so forth in the world, thus in doing so. So it's amazing. I've had bittersweet moments, I'll be honest with you, where it's like, man, well, wish y'all would have been around sooner. Like, and that's no knock on anybody. I'm telling you that like a man face to face. Like, I give you all the props, and I'm so happy that that's the real sentiment. But I can't lie, like the whatever in me at times is like, man, I like, because the way you've been feeling these past couple years, over a decade, man, decade plus. Like, there were times, bro, where because now it's like, even with, there's a lot more support. So there was times where I'm coming out talking about stuff in the past, and it's like, it feels like it was just so far ahead of its time for people at that point in time. You know what I mean? Like, um, so it's great to have, and I've seen it. I've seen with my efforts over the past few years, I've seen people like yourself, and where like it's opened up a door to meet a lot of new people and introduce people to my music, and into my thoughts and my work and my philosophies. So it's been like, you know a blessing, really, at the same time. I mean, and I know, okay, oh, people died and whatever. I don't, people die all the time. Like, it sucks. It's life. Like, I had a friend die not too long ago, from cancer. It Things happen all the time. Like, but doesn't mean that it all has to be bad. Like, that's this weird perspective we have as humans, that things just always have to be absolute. Like, it's got to be good or bad. Like, nah. I mean, there was bad stuff, but overall, for me, and I think for many people like us at least, it was a blessing. It definitely was. But yeah, there's so many issues in the past. Like, like, I get hyped up off. I got how do I say this? One of the things that I feel so strongly about is the war on drugs, right? And like, part of me, and I'm just being honest as a human. I go through all types of emotions, and I don't hold true to those emotions, though. Like, I know what is what, but there was a part of me that resented people who were just now, because of COVID and everything, coming to this realization of things, because here I am, like, fighting for the war against the war on drugs, which I feel is like basically the immoral and unethical equivalent of everything with COVID. But it's been going on for 50 years, has caused way more damage, way more. It's not even comparable. People are up in hysteria about all the shit that's happened since 2020. It's not comparable. It's not. It may be more of like a indicator of a starting point, like, oh shit, and now you see this whole digital rollout and the everything that, social credit scores, and so. But as far as actual real damage that has been done and injustice, not even close. And they're both very heavily based in bodily autonomy. One saying what you can put into your body or have to, the shot, and others saying what you're not allowed to do to yourself. They're both, put into your body. So they're both telling you what you can or can't do to yourself, what you have to do to your own body and mind, right? And they're both so, I mean, the war on drugs is, you cannot big pharma is as much behind the war on drugs as they are behind this shit.
Yeah,
Trust.
yeah, they
So
make
to
the
me, I've often said, like, if people were hip to just the war on drugs all these years, I don't even think that this would have ever happened, because we'd have demanded our bodily autonomy, and we'd have been even familiar with what that is and what our natural rights are, and that everyone has that inherent liberty to be a master of themselves, lord and master of yourself. No one can be above you, because nothing can qualify another human being aside from another human being. But that's not real qualification. No other human being could say, oh, you know what, I think you're qualified to judge over someone else. Wait, well, what qualifies you? Oh, another human being. It's a charade. It's bullshit. So with that being said, that's at the root of it. And if we just get to that root of natural law, of natural rights, of what it really is, then we're literally, as a people, we'd be invincible. Then no force could, nothing, no government, there'd be no armies, because people would refuse. People would, it's as simple as that. That's the natural law. When people think that, it's not some magical, mystical thing that's just going to sweep over the people. It's just the simple fact that when everybody acts in accordance with the basic principles of non-aggression, don't harm others, don't take people's shit, don't coerce people, don't extort people. Simple aggression. That's all aggressive, acting aggressively. And we know what that is inherently. We have that moral compass. And as long as we act in accordance with that, as long as we do, everybody will prosper. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be all perfect and people will still have depression and mental illnesses and things. Not everything's going to be perfect. It's not a utopia necessarily, but you're going to be free. You're going to know no one. If you have issues, at least you know it's not because of somebody else creating them. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be all good. Everyone is going to prosper. Everyone's going to benefit. It's unavoidable. It's the unavoidable, inevitable consequence of living in accordance with with natural law. That's it. And my activism over the years has been rooted in that. Not always worded as such, of course, in many different ways and forms. I have to, in order to put out hundreds of songs and countless pieces of content on social media, written format. I mean, I used to write, bro, like back in the Facebook days, you know what I'm saying? 10 years ago, 8, 9, I used to write fucking essays on Facebook. You know what I mean? Debate people, all kinds of. But anyway, so yeah, man, that's what it is. Natural law above all else.
Well, yeah, the parallel that went along with this was that the fentanyl epidemic got a lot worse. And recently, President of Mexico, Obrador Lopez, said that the problem could be solved in the United States with fentanyl, because he claims that there's not a fentanyl problem in Mexico, but it's our problem, and that we're absorbing it all through them. And whatever, who knows who has the biggest problem. I think they have problems too. It's just that it's a lot more. There's a lot more of a stigma there, and that kind of keeps it down culturally. But he says the solution is more hugs. And what do you think of that?
He said the solution's more what?
More hugs. He said that people
hugs, like
love.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's the thing that's happening is I think that's a big thing with people, is that they have a hollow space.
Yeah,
and they're trying to fill it with something. And I know you started this because you got caught up, right?
I got caught up with a lot of shit.
Yeah. And that's what woke you up to the whole scheme of everything, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I always dabbled in things, even as a youngster, right? Even running wild and not giving a fuck. But that was part of the influence. See, we'd come full circle. Rap music, actually. Listening to cats who in the 90s, I mean, yeah, they were still coming with some grimy street shit and talking about killing people and whatnot. But they would also drop some gems in there, though. You know what I'm saying? They drop a little knowledge, like Wu-Tang, Nas, Mobb Deep, even. You know what I'm saying? So hip hop, KRS-One, I mean, even Public Enemy, I ain't gonna lie, I was real young. I was maybe like 6 when Public Enemy came out, and it just wasn't. It's not something that I really rocked to back then. But nonetheless, there was. I mean, even Tupac, would drop some knowledge, and so I always kind of dabbled in things and had a different, mindset. I when I got older, I read a lot, studied religions, got really into Buddhism. I liked Buddhism a lot. Um, Even got it to one of my tattoos from way back in the day is a quote from a Buddhist philosopher. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I was vegetarian even back. Like to me, I don't know, it's a funny thing. Like I'm I was like a tough guy, I guess you could kind of, how people would describe, I suppose. Um and in the streets and just wilding, and I'll beat somebody up. I don't give a fuck about that, but I don't want to hurt no animals. You know what I'm saying? Like, and my friends used to joke and shit. Like, we would always bust each other's balls, as they would say. Like, heat each other up, rank each other. But I always had, you know, I always had a thirst for knowledge and truth still, but I just was not exposed to the real, because mind you, this was the 90s. Like, I mean, I don't know if are you familiar with, for example, a book called Behold the Pale Horse?
Oh yeah. Yep. William
Okay,
Milton Cooper.
exactly, William Cooper. So like I read that book in high school, bro. Like, that's a crazy book. And that's because of the rappers. Wu-Tang and them were talking about Behold the Pale Horse back in the days. And I remember my boy was like, yo, we gotta get that book. But he's like, if we check it out from the library, they flag you and shit. Like, because you on some, but whatever. So we got our hands on it. And I remember reading it. And this is like why I'm so understanding of the youth too, because I know how I was. Like, um, I read it. I read I absorbed, I ate it up. I was like, this is crazy. But to me, it was like reading a science fiction book or something. I was like, man, this is wild. This can't be true. But then part of me even back then was like, I don't know though. Maybe it is like crazy, crazy shit. But then you get back to your everyday life, which has nothing to do with any of that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so difficult when you're just, and not just in the streets or anything like that, but even just somebody who has a family, kids, and a full time job, and like that, just you're so immersed in that you might even know something, but like, I can't. I can't deal with that now. You know, and especially when you're young. At that age, it's like, bro, everybody just wants to kick it and party, which is fine too. That's fine. That's like part of the, I wish they would. I wish, obviously, ideally, the youth would not need substance abuse, alcohol and drugs and shit to have a good time. That's when it becomes, you know, to detrimental. But just partying and having a good time, that's amazing. That's great. I think, yeah. So going back full circle, that's what people need. Hugs, a good time, love. And I think more than anything, if we want to keep kids off drugs, it's certainly not about criminalizing it and locking them up and creating this insane world. Like, it is insanity. It's so crazy. I, and people say, "Oh, weed." No, look, all drugs. It don't matter. But yeah, weed just takes the cake, just because it's literally a plant that grows in the earth, and people have done life bids for having that shit. It is insane. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Like, you imagine, put yourself totally out of the perspective that you're in right now as a listener, and just think you don't know anything about weed, and you just hear of a civilization that is just locking, enslaving millions of people, throwing them in cages, because they're some plant that grows naturally on their planet. Like, you would think those people are mad. That's insane. That is insane. That's savagery. Why the fuck? Nobody would be okay with that. But we do it, and it's normal. 50 years, even now, oh, it's, decriminalized, and man, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. So anyway, if people really want to, you know, if we want to prevent kids from doing drugs, people from doing drugs, it's not about drugs. First of all, let's stop that. Oh, let's prevent drugs, say no to drugs. No, let's get to the root of addiction, period. Because if it's not drugs, it's going to be something else. Usually it's a slew of things as an addict. I know I have addictive personality. I've suffered. I've gone through it. I've done the work. And I still have my bouts of with it, so to speak. So I know it all too well. And it all stems from, the addiction is, like you said, that's a void, something, some need to want to not embrace and enjoy reality as it actually is, right? It's an escape from reality. So really, I think the main thing is giving kids love. Love your children. If you have kids, give them unconditional love. you know um give them trust, and if they don't trust you, that's one of the biggest issues with kids, and something that gets overlooked when it comes to drug use. If they don't trust you, if they get curious in drugs, if they're feeling some kind of way, they're not going to come to you because they're going to be scared. They're going to be scared. They don't trust that you will accept them without judgment and punishment and condemnation. So they won't even come to you. So instead of coming to you, they go to their fucking friend who don't know jack shit, just like they don't know. Oh yeah, but my brother, my older sister told me. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, let's try it. Oh, where do we go get it? Oh, I don't know. Me, if I had kids, if my kids were ever wanted to even try drugs, I'd say, okay, what do you want to try? Because you ain't trying no cocaine, none of that shit. I'll tell you right now. You want to smoke some weed, if your brain is fully formed, okay, I'd rather have you try it here with me in a controlled environment, in a safe setting. I could get it for you. So I know you're not getting it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just better. It's better. It seems so counterintuitive as a parent to be like, wait, no, yeah, I'm gonna get my kids some weed because they want to try it. But guess what? They are going to try it regardless. So would you rather have them out in the street risking it, and walking that slippery? And most importantly, if the child trusts you to come to you and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about trying drugs," obviously not just saying, "Okay, great, I'll get it for you. Here you go," but trying to have the conversation about with them and figure out why. Why do you want to try those drugs? What do you think they'll accomplish? Don't you think we could do that some other way? How about you try and get an adrenaline rush from working out, get a dopamine hit, get some natural drugs released. Let's try this or try that, or you know what I'm saying? You could take that approach. But if they don't trust you, they're not going to come to you at all. And all of that is to say love. It's that love, that unconditional love. They could come to you with anything. You're not going to flip out like how our parents, I'm sure yours too, like they didn't know shit. Our parents were the worst. I don't care what anybody says. Like previous generations too, all like man, it was, you couldn't talk to them about shit. And I'm not saying, sure, some people had good parents, great, loving, all of that. My parents and many others, like my mom was okay. My mom was good to an extent. But like my pops couldn't talk to him about shit. Couldn't talk to that man. Didn't talk to that man about anything, right? It was just yell, boss around, this and that. And that is the complete wrong approach. It just pushes a kid away. And ultimately, it's true, man. If parents don't raise the kids, the friends will, the streets will, the TV will, the culture will, the environment will, everything else will. And what the fuck are you then? You ain't a damn parent then. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So it all starts with that. It all starts with the kids and the parents. No fucking war on drugs. None of this bullshit is going to save anybody from drugs. Parents only can save their respective children from addiction. From addiction, because addiction is a disease really of the emotion, of the soul, one could even say. That's what it is, right? It's that longing for something. And I think a huge important thing is for people that find a sense of purpose in life. That goes hand in hand, but that's also the parents' responsibility to guide and nurture that child in a direction and help them explore possibilities to where they can find their passion and their purpose in life. You know what I'm saying? It's something that really fulfills them on that level, because that's super important too. You know what I'm saying? Like, if most people, we can't just float through life and just, if we just don't feel like we have any greater purpose, we just floating through life. And that's we need, we live in a material world, so we need some type of grounding. We need to be grounded and stable in some type of sense, right? So, I mean, yeah, bro. That's pretty much it. I'll cut it. I'll cut it there because I know I keep going and going.
So this is a spiritual battle, and you're often out there talking about demoralization and
Yeah.
and going against that, and that's how they build that hole in people, is through the demoralization. And you're right back there about trust, because trust is a two-way street. There has to be trust on both ends of that, and that's how it becomes mutual, and that's how people go out in secret and ruin their lives, and then families get overwhelmed and things like that, and then you got somebody on the streets, and that's bad news. You don't want that. Nobody wants that to happen to anybody in their family, especially their children.
No.
Uh, so that's something that all parents need to learn from, is that love and trust, and
Yeah, it's the
make sure.
parents'
Yeah.
responsibility 100%, man. That's, don't have kids. Like, don't have kids if you're not ready to be full out. That's the greatest responsibility you ever take, and you could ever take in his life, is bringing life in, because that life did not ask to be brought into this world. And I could have my own beliefs, and oh yeah, we chose to come here and all that. People say that all the time. Great. I believe that on some level, sure. But in this actual material physical existence, you cannot use that as something, as some parents do and have, mine include. Oh, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out of it. Or I brought you into this world, I'll do what I want type of mentality. Like, because oftentimes bringing a person into this world can be more of a curse than a blessing for that person. You know what I'm saying? So who the fuck are you to say no, that you should be thankful? So no matter what, parents are, to me, and that's why I don't have kids. I may one day, but I'm not ready for that responsibility right now, because to me, um that is a lifetime. I don't I don't believe in the westernization of families either. I think, yes, parents want to raise their children in a manner that gives them the tools needed to be self-sufficient in life, because so, you could find yourself in circumstances that you have to be, right? So absolutely. But does that mean, oh, you're 18, go out and get a job, go contribute be another cog in the wheel, great job, congratulations, we're so proud of you? That's westernization bullshit. And that's a huge reason people talk about, oh, the nuclear family is being destroyed, and they talk about, they want to blame it on oftentimes on trans and gay rights and these things. And nah, my people, I'm not saying that stuff isn't part of it. Sure, maybe, possibly, but the real destruction of it is that get your kids out of your fucking home. That's where the family is. Adios, amigo. You know what I'm saying? So, as opposed to in places that, like here, for example, where I live, it's because of necessity, because poverty, it's a poor country. So, but people live together. You'll have whole grown brothers with their wives and kids all living under one roof with their parents, with the grandparents. Like, it's very common. It's very rare will you see here, almost never. I haven't met any like 18-year-old, 19-year-old that's living on their own, that's got their own apartment. They don't do that here. They don't do it. And our culture in general is the parents are, everything they do, they work and strive to give their child a better life. That means so that their children don't have to work and strive the way that they did. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
and that's how it should be, right? So me, I want to get to a point where I could, if I have kids, when they get old enough, I hope they will never have to work a day in their life, unless they want to, unless it's their passion and this is something they can do. Otherwise, I want to be able to have provided them with whatever they need, including the tools to not need me or what I have to offer them. But I still feel it's my duty and obligation to provide them with everything that they need in order to live the absolute. Basically, if I have a kid, I want them to live the ideal life that I would have wanted to live. Don't get me wrong, I love my life now, right? But I want to give them from the beginning all the love, all the attention, all the time, all the education, the knowledge, the tools necessary, but also the because here it all goes back to a thing I'm big on is financial freedom within this grid and this system. So for me, either I need to be off the grid, right? So, and that's the ultimate goal is if I have a kid, ultimately, I'm gonna just have an off the grid, and that's yours. When I'm gone, you could have that, you'll have that forever. You could be off the grid. If you want, you could sell it. You want to go on the grid, do what you want, right? So if I'm off the grid, but if I were on the grid still, then I could not in good faith bring a child into this world knowing how difficult it is to live on the grid and in the system and not first make sure that I have, or at least am on the trajectory to have a life provided for them where they don't have to if they don't want to. Why the fuck would anybody want to bring a kid into this world to then say, all right, you're 18 now, go on there, or go on and just be another slave to the system? I'm so proud of you. I don't care what, or 21, 22 college degree. I don't give a fuck about any of that. So to me, it starts there. Like, have kids, create for them together, be a family, stay together. Don't, pool your money together. Even if they want to get a job, let them go get a job, but have their money. Keep the families together. You know, I think that's a huge part of it, and I think it's also maybe part of why kids don't necessarily. I don't know. Maybe it's an assumption to say that kids don't learn or aren't as. I don't know. I don't know what the word I would use, but just the fact that, like, okay, if a child is at home and has a really good home structure and living environment and parents who educate and nurture them, like, I think they're gonna want to stay too. Like, it's usually the kids who can't wait to get out, leave because their home life sucks, and it's tough being out there at 17, 18, 19 years old on your own, not just financially, but trying to navigate through life and learn and like, you're a fucking kid. That's a kid, right? And I think probably nowadays more children are prone to do that. Like, I'm out of here. I'm getting out on my own. I don't want to live at home. This sucks for whatever reason, right? So maybe that's part of the like the degradation essentially of the youth,
you mentioned
because they don't have those core, family, that stable family at home where they could well into their 20s. you know I don't even look. forever. How about that? Just like people do here. How about that? How about you're born at home, you grow up, you found a woman, you get married, she moves in with you, you live with your parents at home with your family, and your grandparents help raise the kids because they have wisdom and patience. That's what used to happen. How about that? You know, it's so wild that there's been this intentional like propaganda campaign in the West of demonizing um the family unit by shaming the children. Like, oh, you're 20 whatever and you still live at home? Oh, loser. You know, oh, you're or even you hear a lot of times about like, well, oh, they want to shame like welfare, like not welfare, what do they call it? Trust fund kids and shit like that. Like kids with inheritances and shit like that, right? And now it's different if we're talking about Bill Gates kids and these billionaires. That's I'm not talking about that. But you know, there's a lot of people who their parents, grandparents, maybe they pat whatever, inherit a couple 100,000, a million, maybe. You ain't no billionaire, but you could do, and they want to shame that. There's nothing wrong. What the fuck? That's like that's some hater shit. Like, bro, you must be jealous. Like, what's there ain't no now it's different if somebody's coming off entitled and they want to flex and like, yeah, I got look at all this shit I got. And it's like, bro, you inherited that money from your grandma Judy. Like, chill out. Like, you ain't a drug dealer. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's different. But just in normal life, anything like that is amazing. And it should be praised. It should be like, oh, that's dope. You live in a, you 25, you live at home, and you're with your parents and you have a great relationship with them like that. That's super dope. Now, of course, there's the guys that are maybe in their 20s living at home because they're lazy and don't want to fucking do anything with their life and have no purpose and it's not their fault. They have issues that need to be addressed. It's a form of addiction. They probably addicted to video games, porn, food, all types of shit. I've been down those slippery slopes myself. So I know what it's like. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, if it's a conscious choice that people are making, and that's what they need to start doing. But it starts with parents. Kids are not going to want to stay at home. They're not going to want to build that family bond. And when you build the family bond, mind you, each individual family in a neighborhood, it's then the community is going to get built even better. Because imagine if all the families are just so strongly knit and have a loving core, and everyone and your neighbors do too, of course y'all are going to eventually come together, and you know what I'm saying, and just it's going to be energetically an amazing place to live, and everyone's going to be vibing. And all of that really goes back to natural law again. Like, even with parents, just respect natural law. Treat your child with the understanding that they are a sovereign individual, yet and still, even no matter what, from the moment they're born, they're a sovereign individual. And you can't just be going around telling them what to do and abusing them and threatening them and coercing them. And yes, of course, there is that fine line. I know I know I can hear the people now, oh, you don't have kids, you don't know what it's like. No, I hate that. Like, why? There are many things I haven't done or won't experience in life that I could still empathize. I have imagination, people. I could figure it out. I get it. Right. So, and besides, I didn't have kids, but I was a kid. How about that? So I have the firsthand perspective of what it's like to be a kid. Right. So, ultimately, I mean, I say all of that basically just to say you know, it all starts with the parents, with at home, with the kids. The kids need love. The kids need attention. The kids need respect. They need their individuality, their sovereignty. Because they're humans. It's honestly one of the biggest. If people want to play the victim game in society and in the social justice, why don't they ever talk? Why aren't they more vocal about kids? Like, and I'm not talking about just like, oh, pedophilia and things of that nature, just the general overall treatment of kids, how they just are trampled on for the most part, and people don't really think anything of it. But I know, like I know I could hear the people, the critics, but I get it. There's that fine line of like, you do have to at some point, and that's like one of the moral dilemmas I've had with having kids in general, is like, man, but I know there can be that point where you have to impose your authority upon the kid, right? Like, for example, if you're out in a public place and they're acting wild and about to break some shit, like, you gotta interject and stop them. Like, nope, you can't do that. Sorry. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to, but you might feel you have to. Obviously, you don't necessarily have to. But so I understand that too, and that's for each parent to use their better judgment. But but people want to use that as a cop out. Like, you can't sit up here and tell me, oh yeah, that you can't sit up there and yell at a kid all day like, oh, I'm gonna smack you if you don't do this, and tell me, oh no, I'm just teetering the fine line. No, you're not. You're just being fucking abusive, you know. And I think it is getting more attention nowadays than ever, certainly, but still not as much attention. Like, that actual aspect of abuse, of child abuse, of the emotional aspect, the mental aspect, is still um so underestimated. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though we have
Well,
studies and all types of shit that like, neglect can literally kill a baby. It can kill a baby. Lack of human touch and affection, a child will die. That is insane. I mean, all the physical, all the mental and emotional, it can be worse than the physical. And yet the physical is like, people jump and scream at that. But will still, to this day, people will, if you saw somebody just punch their kid on the street, a lot of people might interject and try to do something. But we'll walk past somebody just saying some horrible shit to their kid and not say nothing, not interject, not, you know what I mean? Myself
yeah.
included. I ain't pointing fingers.
So
I've done it in the past because it's hard. It's hard, especially with parents like that. Like, you know, but the point is, the physical abuse is still, I think, I don't want to say valued, but it's still held at a higher level of disdain than the emotional and mental. And I don't think it should be that way.
right. You mentioned earlier "Behold the Pale Horse," and that has a an entire chapter, "Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars," where they talk about destroying the family, and there's the whole input output, and how everybody just basically gets programmed by their TV and gets consumed by their job, and you're seeing the product of that right now. Whether you think William Cooper was a plant, a fed, or if he was crazy kooky, it doesn't matter. That chapter is something that we've actually seen play out. And the other thing I was going to say is, I don't have kids either, and we're probably around the same age. And everything you do when you're ready, and you have to have two people that are ready at the same time for something like that. So that's that's the thing. And
Yeah, and
it took me a long time to grow up.
that second person is the trick. That's the tough one from my experience. Not that I haven't like actively been looking or nothing like that, to be honest, but you know, um bless the women. I love women. Met and experienced many beautiful women, but I have yet to meet, at least I have friends, things like that, but at least on a romantic level where there's some type of chemistry and physical attraction as well, to meet a woman that is like, yeah, on that level, man. It's tough. I mean, I think generally though, in kind of our sphere, it's bogus ratio, like men to women. I think we way outnumber the women. Like,
Oh yeah. Now that also
yeah,
those shots, I don't want to be with a woman that took one of those shots.
yeah,
And
it's tough, bro.
and a lot
Unless she
it
changed it up. Like, what? Well, let me ask you: what if she took them, but regrets it and is like, "Oh man, I'm against it."
sorry, no. I mean,
Why
in
is that?
if
Why you think maybe it'll affect her,
yep, I
or
think
with
so.
kids, having
I
kids,
and
maybe?
then bodies together, fluids exchanged, etc.
Yeah,
It's something I don't want. I don't want that
yeah.
substance anywhere near me. So and that really narrows it down, Um, and so I put some thought into that, and then I've also seen what some doctors have said about how it can be transferred, and
That's
and
crazy.
they're not getting me with that stuff. Sorry.
That's wild, bro. Yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm in the same boat as far as a very very slim pickings, so to speak, if any pickings at all. But I ain't tripping, man. That's the um that ain't even a it ain't even a thing to me right now. Even if I were to meet a woman, sure, of course, I'd want to speak and get to know the person. But at this point in my life, I ain't really trying to have no relationship like that. You know what I'm saying? Just because I got a lot of other things and goals, and just trying to. Only way really I would have, if I met a woman and we got to know each other over some period of time, because more than likely, like, she wouldn't be from here where I live, just because it's a small little town, and I prefer English speaking women anyway, even though I could speak this language fluently, but English is, it's my language. I'm a master of, I consider myself a master of the English language. So for many reasons, it would probably be a woman from abroad. And if that happened, we'd have to get to know each other for some period of time. But the only way I'd be at any time in the near future is if she just was willing and able to just become part of my life and be involved in what I do, have some role with, the business, the music, everything that I do, right? Otherwise, that's why, like, my pickings are really slim, bro. I mean, the way that I think, plus I'm vegan, she got to be vegan, plus got to be willing to basically enter my life and just roll with me. I'm the leader. We going, hop on, let's roll, let's keep it moving. You're gonna have your role in the business, and of course in a relationship, we'll have our roles, whatever we define them as, and we keep it moving. So, and that's incredibly difficult. All the women, they want to, have their careers. A lot of them that I meet, they want to do their own thing. They want to be the star of their own show, which I get it. I ain't knocking it, but I kind of need me a woman that's gonna be okay with, you know, being kind of my sidekick, so to speak, and just riding with me, and my thing is your thing. You know what I'm saying? And we doing this together. You gotta get big productions, LLC. That's how it's going down.
Right.
Otherwise, like, what's the point? Otherwise, I'm not. It'd be different if we was in our 20s. Yeah, go live your life. Cool. We'll meet up. We'll whatever. I'm 41 years old. I ain't trying to live no separate lives. And I did that in the past. I did long distance relationships, all of that shit. Fuck all that. If I'm feeling a woman on that level, you gotta come and you just gotta be part of this show. And we rolling. That's it. So lot of requirements and specifications for any women out there who are who are considering it. A lot of check tick boxes you got to tick off, so to speak. But yeah, it'd be worth it though. I'd certainly make it worth their while.
Right. Yeah, man, I used to whenever I was on the dating apps, I would be yes, 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 no, 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 absolutely not.
It's
And
tough, man.
it's really funny because right now it's more I'm on the road, so it's harder to find someone, and and I'm still saying no. Well,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. Anyway, we've gone a long time already. You got a lot of stuff to promote, so I'm gonna let you go and tell everybody about how to find your things.
Yeah, I mean, mainly, I mean, you can find me everywhere. You can just Google the name, is right there. It's on the screen, right? Diesel Automatic, DISL. Um, yeah, you could Google it, but my two main platforms are YouTube. YouTube, all my music videos is where they come out. So again, Diesel Automatic on YouTube, and then Spotify is my other main, where people tend to stream my music and find my music. So again, Diesel Automatic. And that's it. Diesel Automatic everywhere. Instagram is, you can follow me up on Instagram if you want. That's where I do most of like my kind of behind the scenes posting and my stories, and maybe just a little something more that I don't do on most social medias, to be honest. Um, but yeah, other than that, everywhere. Check me out. A lot of music, obviously, for those who don't know, I will say, if you're not familiar with my music, you'll have a if you do like it, if you check it out and you like it, you hit the jackpot. You literally like, because I know as a fan what it's like. Like if I find an artist I like, and I'm like, oh snap, this cat has a catalog. Like they got songs for years and years that I didn't even, I never heard about them. That's like hitting the jackpot. Boom, you got all this new music to listen to. So yeah, I've been doing it for well over a decade. Basically going on 13 years now. I've been actively putting music out online and social media and everything. So yeah, like hundreds of songs, dozens and dozens of music videos, and yeah, it's all positive. It's all with the message. I've never um I personally feel I'm in the stratosphere of the type of music that I do, that I'm I know people put me up there as one of the dopest and one of the and and the message and all of that, but like for me, one thing I really I take pride in is the consistency over the years. You know what I'm saying? To do it as long as I've been doing it and stay consistent in the message, not just consistent in putting music out, but like from the beginning, sure, I've added things and changed a few things, but from the beginning, the overall the basic fundamental message has been the same, and peace, love, positivity, unity, freedom, liberty, natural law, and that's get big on them is all about growing and expanding, as a human being, because all of that, it all comes from within. If we don't if we don't change ourselves, if we don't get big, if we don't grow and evolve and expand as a human being, then it's literally impossible for the collective to. So everything starts with the individual, and that is metaphysical and the ethereal, but it's also true in the material and the physical aspect. It all starts with the individual when it comes to freedom and liberty and our rights. The greater good, so to speak, and the rights of the collective can never outpower the rights of each individual, the inherent natural rights, the God-given rights and liberty of the individual. Because ultimately, no matter how good it is, the masses can be misled and they can go astray, and if it's mob rule, they'll ultimately impose their rule upon you, even if it's wrong and unjust, because people are susceptible to corruption and error and mistakes and all types of things. So again, the most important thing for me is spreading that message, and now more than ever, honestly, like Because with time I have grown and understood it more and can express it even better than previously. But it's always been there in my music, this message of freedom. You know, I consider myself a freedomist. That's I'm not with the people, anarchists, voluntarists, libertarian, all these things. Like, I think we should just be all freedomists and natural lawyers. I'm a natural lawyer. That's, a lawyer is somebody who's there to defend the law. So natural lawyers. I ain't. I'm just here to protect that law that exists, just by explaining it to people and letting people know. Because really, I mean, that's it, man. It's sometimes we overthink things and think that the solution is so complicated and everything has to be figured out. But it's simple and it's right there. It's right there. It's so easy. It's the golden rule. Treat others as you would be treated. Because, and I don't give a fuck. Don't tell me about, I want to be treated poorly. No, you don't. Unless you have a serious mental illness, or a psychopath, or you know what I'm saying, something like that, which the majority of us are not. Nobody wants to be taken advantage of, coerced, beaten, threatened, violated, harassed, extorted. Nobody. So if we just stick to that, don't really, just don't be a dick. Don't be an asshole. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's literally all it is. Because
It's as simple as that. Yeah.
yeah, it's that simple, you know, and it's there and it's always been there. So, yeah, I don't know. This was supposed to be a plug for my music, but I end up plugging natural law because that's the most important thing to me anyway. I mean, that's all my music does and tries to convey. Yeah, I mean, of course, now it's a business and all of that good stuff. That's great, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I would do this regardless. I'd be putting this message out regardless of the views or the money or any of that shit. Like, all of that is amazing, and it's a true blessing to be able to do what I love and have this impact and still eat from it and so on and so forth. But anyway, it's not like it's super lucrative. I definitely ain't no big balling out on from this kind of music. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, man, it ain't about that. I really feel like it's just a simple, like, it's simple in theory. It's a little bit more difficult in practice, but ultimately that is the start. How would the world work? How would it be structured? Systems in place? I don't know, man. It's not my job to know all of that. I don't need to know everything. But I do know that if we just follow follow respected everyone's natural rights, then the natural law states that the in result of that would be everybody would have the freedom to ultimately dictate, is your life good or bad. Then it really would just be your choice. You know, um, our rights are so violated, and then on top of that we have all the, which one could say is willing, the media we take in, the things we watch, the music we listen to. But we have all this, we're just bombarding with everybody else's terms of life, terms and services for how we are supposed to live our life and what we're supposed to do. And it doesn't have to be like that, and it shouldn't be like that. It's really simple. I people, it's wild to me. I don't. It shouldn't even be some you know controversial thing to just say that everybody should have the right to do whatever they want, without, as long as they're not hurting anybody, and nobody should be able to interfere with that. I mean, it's crazy. So anyway, that's it,
Yeah.
man. I'll leave it at that. I'll wrap it up. So yeah, go check on that note. Study natural law, natural rights. It's simple. Don't even study it. Just it's so easy. Just don't do bad stuff. And objective morality. I'm sorry, I have to say this. Okay, there is objective morality. These are rights. Things exist in this. Just because you don't see it and doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You don't know or see how breathing air really works, but it's there. If you had no knowledge of it, it would not exist. Before we knew what breathing was, if I was like, yo, how we live, we don't even know what breathing is, but when we do this, oh, we're something's going inside of us. You'd be like, what? Bro, what are you talking about? There's nothing there. What do you mean? It's just what we do. It doesn't mean anything. Literally. And now we know. I mean, and that's also the point of science. Like, that's why all this science shit needs to stop. They need to stop. Shit is always changing, bro. Like, 100 years ago, the top tier science is ridiculous to us now, or unethical, or just what the fuck were y'all thinking? Right? Oh, so now are we to assume we're at the pinnacle of it? This is it. We've reached the absolute level of scientific understanding and knowledge of everything. We have it all. We know it all. No, your shit's gonna be wrong. So shut the fuck up and don't ever in your life tell me to trust some bullshit, some shit that is inevitably going to be proven wrong. Literally, if you look at any science, the chances of it eventually being changed because it was slightly off or completely off are way higher than any science remaining for any period of time. And ultimately, if we stay around enough and evolve enough, it'll probably all change. It'll probably be all in 100 years. Literally, we'll look back and be like, these people were fucking fools. What the fuck were they doing? Hopefully that's what happens. Is they
Right. It's
that. So
it's like what
look, so the point of all that being said, there's objective morality, right? Again, unless your clock is cuckoo, unless you're off, right? Totally. If you're a relatively emotionally sound, normal, so to speak, person, mentally sound, normal, so to speak, person, you inherently, you have a feeling inside of you. You know, when you see a person, an old lady getting mugged, you feel like, oh, that's wrong. When you see an animal getting kicked in the fucking head for no reason, you're like, whoa, that's wrong. That does not even have to be taught. That doesn't even have to be fucking taught because it's the opposite of what is natural to us. See, you give a little baby, right? A little baby, it may not know how to react to seeing a let's say a dog get kicked in the head for no reason. The baby may not know what that means. It'll maybe hear the dog bark and get startled and cry. It's not going to know what that necessarily means, but because it doesn't have the conceptual understanding of what the opposite of what its natural way is. And its natural way would never to be to kick a dog. If you put a baby next to a dog, it's probably going to hug the dog and cuddle it, right? So that's all we really know. We don't know this other shit. So if all we really know, if what is natural to us is that love, then by default, when we see something that goes against to what is natural, our natural inclination, that is our moral compass. And we, as again, generally as sound people, we know we could try to block it out. We could try to desensitize ourselves even at times. Sometimes we have to. Growing up in survival situations, in hostile, volatile situations, sometimes you have to desensitize yourself. But you can't fully trick yourself and lie to yourself. And you can't trick your subconscious mind either. So no matter what, we have that moral compass because it directs us. It's the direction that points in the polar opposite direction of what is most natural and inherent to us, and that is love. And that's it. So if we all come from that place, you know what I'm saying? Everything will be good. It won't be a utopia. It won't be ideal. Yeah, people will have issues. Things could arise. We're humans. So what? But there ain't going to be no fucking crime and violence and bullshit. It's occasionally from the off, whatever. It ain't going to be oppression. It ain't going to be. And that's it. It's so simple. Just fucking just love. Just love each other. Like, it's not, it shouldn't even have to be called love, for God's sakes. Like, it's just common, it's basically common decency. That's really what it is. It's so crazy. Like, that just being a commonly decent, good person now is like literally revolutionary. That's some revolutionary shit. Just being a good person. That's it.
Yeah, be good to each other, everybody. And
That's
thank
it.
you, Diesel. Diesel, thank you so much for jumping in and talking to me today.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. I talked 97% of the time.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah, have a great day.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. Anytime.
Thanks.